Hey guys, what's up? It is week 187, and we actually did record the 22 Shots Christmas special. I'll talk about the movies very briefly on here, but if you want in-depth reviews, check it out on 22 Shots. Should be up when you're seeing this, close to. I was very sleepy during that episode, but we had a nice little kind of discussion about the children at the end for sure. But okay, let's hop into the first review. And this is from Full Moon Features, and this is one of the Euroscene collection. That's right. And this is a director, I think I've actually, they credit him as Peter Knight, but we know better. It's obviously not Peter Knight. I believe I want to say he's a French director. And don't get me wrong here. Here's what Panther Squad is, starring Sybil Danning. Who else is in here? Jack Taylor. There's a couple other faces. You'll see Donald O'Brien. It's got a lot of people that you recognize from a lot of these Euro kind of horror movies. Some Jess Franco stuff, some Joe D'Amato stuff. So you recognize a lot of the people. A lot of them are like pretty much just cameos. This is a very weird movie. You think Panther Squad, it opens up with this bunch of like, women in like scantily clad shooting at like a gun range, and you're like, oh, I know exactly what this is. You think this is going to be kind of a sleazy, goofy kind of movie. But in reality, it ends up being kind of almost a spy farce, which is very kind of lighthearted and very inept and jumps around and goes and just stops the movie completely. That has these characters that are in one obviously isolated location. So basically what happens here is there is terrorist, domestic terrorist kind of thing that are obsessed with keeping the environment clean. So they kidnap a top astronaut in preventing this, space launch mission. So they basically kidnap her. It's up to Sybil Danning and her squad of like badass females to go in and rescue. The fight choreographing and stuff is not very good. They'll do these real zoom-ins when they want to get more coverage, when they need to cut away from something, and footage obviously degrades a bit. There's also, like, it's funny because the scope is pretty big. Like, there's helicopter stuff, and I was thinking through half this movie, I was like, man, I would be so mad if I paid for a helicopter in this movie. And I don't want to badmouth it or anything too bad, but it's just such a low-budget B movie, and it's kind of inept, and there's a lot of people that say, French cinema, man, it's just some of the best. But when French cinema is, the exploitation movies are on the lower end, they're pretty brutal. And just taking comparison to when you take something like the Nazi exploitation movies from Italy and the Nazi exploitation movies from France, the Nazi ones from Italy are way better. And I know people are like, Nazi exploitation movies are awful. It's like, I like them, and I like the ones from Italy a lot better than the French ones. But saying that about Panther Squad, this is like a lighter movie than one would expect. So it's more of a comedy than anything. Jack Taylor has this running gimmick where he's at the bar all the time, constantly getting drunk, and I think some people will find that cute and fun. When people are shot, there's obviously no squibs or anything like that. We're going back to the days of the 60s when early 60s when there was no squibs or blood or anything. So there's that. And there's all this weird technology that they don't really explain that comes out of nowhere. I will say that this movie would be kind of fun for a group of people to watch. It's definitely a group movie, and, kind of relax and have a couple drinks and laugh about the whole thing, because I do think it's definitely in that B movie kind of grade. And I'm not trying to be like, this is so garbage, but, it is what it is. It's not necessarily a great film. It's very cheesy and silly and lighthearted, surprisingly. But this is actually remastered from the original 35 millimeter camera negative, and I thought it looked way better than expected, because this movie I didn't really expect to have, I really didn't see it being remastered too well. The only feature on here is there is a commentary on here, which I didn't actually get a chance to listen to. So yeah, but there is some people on here that you will definitely recognize, which was kind of a nice little kick. Donald O'Brien's in the movie for like 35 seconds, but Jack Taylor's pretty much the whole thing, and Sybil Danning is the lead. So if you want to see some girls in bikini shoot some guns and punch some people with kind of a ridiculous spy narrative. Oh, Robert Forster's in here too. He's in a bunch of Jess Franco stuff. Not Robert Forster. Although I did make that mistake and said Robert Forster would never be in a Jess Franco movie, and I actually think he was in one, so that's kind of funny. But anyways, this is Panther Squad with Sybil Danning. Check it out if it's up your alley. Okay, this next one here is from Cauldron Films, and this is actually Abrakadabra. Sorry, I can't even say the word. But this is by the Onetti brothers, who did what are the movies? What the Waters Left Behind, Francesca, and they kind of like, besides What the Waters They Left Behind, they kind of focus on these kind of Neo Giallo kind of deals, but they're kind of done in like an art form or very artsy. So Abrakadabra. This one's fairly short. I think it runs at like 75 minutes or something like that. And I'm a fan of giallos, and the one real cool thing about this is it incorporates magic. I think the tagline is perfect. What the eye sees and the ear hears, the mind believes. So basically, you obviously know right then and there that there's going to be some, deceiving here and twist and everything. But the idea that the killer uses magical tricks and stuff to kill the victims is really cool. I like that. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't been explored deeper. I know that Wizard of Gore kind of did that, but this is different. This is also a mystery. So we have this magician who had a tragic thing happen to his father. It's kind of haunted him, and you know that there's something kind of in the past that's kind of blurry, and a lot of people, kind of ruined his career as well. So basically what happens is right before he has a big opening night, somebody is murdered on the stage. He is not really a suspect because he was kind of out of the picture. So what happens is he starts to kind of dig into it, and other people start ending up murdered. There's this strange bald man following him around, and there's a bunch of reveals. So this movie's score, especially at the end, is very reminiscent of the score they use in Tentacles, which is used probably like 3 or 4 different Italian horror movies. If you hear the score from Tentacles, you'll know it right away. It's a very, very kind of popular score. I think they used it in, what was that kind of Piercing movie as well, which came out last year, I think, here, a couple years ago, everywhere else maybe. But yeah, they kind of used that score in here at the end. It's very similar. So the music, they have their own music too. The music's really solid, really good, really fits with the giallo kind of style film. The aesthetic is actually pretty good. Like, I think the aesthetic's fairly close as far as a lot of these throwback movies are concerned. I think it works well. We have Jim Beam, of course. I mean, yeah, what is it? It's not Jim Beam. I always say that. JD in here. You gotta have that, right? You gotta have that sitting on the shelf in one of these. And there was a couple ones that these giallos that didn't, and I was like, that's not a real one. That doesn't count. But yeah, so they got lots of things going on for it like that I think work. Like I said, the special effects are decent. The kills, they're kind of they're unique, and the gore's all right. At one point, they start to reveal the twist, and I was like, no, wait, that's completely bullshit and completely out of left field and nonsense. And then they kind of quickly kind of repair that, and it all kind of makes sense at the very end. And it left me thinking a little longer, and I was like, oh. I was like, oh, okay, duh. So I ended up kind of enjoying this one. I would check it out. It's I think the first release from Cauldron Films. They are having 2 more releases. They also released American Rickshaw, the Sergio Martino movie with Donald Pleasance, and they have 2 more coming as well. So it's kind of cool to see a new company emerge, and if they keep putting stuff like this out, I will definitely keep buying. So that's Abrakadabra. Okay, the next one here is from 2020, and I'm gonna catch some slack for this. I know it, so I'll be fairly brief. This is Lee Whannell's The Invisible Man. So right when I saw this trailer, and I know I shouldn't base movies off trailers, right when I heard about it, it's like, it's a dark kind of reimagining or whatever of The Invisible Man. It's different, it's nothing. And I could automatically tell this wasn't really an Invisible Man. This was a vehicle for something else, which had the name and the idea somewhat. So I was like, I'm okay with them doing that, but the movie doesn't really look like it's for me. It just, I can tell it's not going to explore the things that I enjoy about the original Invisible Man or in Universal Monsters in general, the mad scientist angle, a lot of that kind of stuff, and the, kind of person losing their grip on their sanity. Although it does have that, but it's completely kind of switched with the other character. So basically what we have here is the Invisible Man is, in the very opening of the movie, we have this girl kind of escaping a domestic abuse relationship. Movie's really dark. In fact, I thought the 4K was a little darker than expected. It just looked really dark and black and blue and stuff. Maybe it's the settings on my TV. I've seen 4Ks look better, and I thought this one looked way too dark, or maybe the movie's just too dark. Anyways, the color palette, not my thing. It's not bright. It doesn't really have any colors, so it's just really not my thing. I know a lot of people, sometimes that works for me, sometimes it doesn't. Didn't work here. So she escapes into the night, and she gets picked up, and she's kind of living with one of her friends who's taking care of her, and come to find out that her abusive husband, who's like one of the biggest optic guys in the world, works on scientific stuff and everything like that, He's kind of a non-character. We don't really get to see him. He's kind of in the shadows and everything. He's passed away. So basically, she's going to inherit a lot of money and everything like that, but there's some stipulations and all that. She meets with her husband's brother and realizes she's going to inherit a lot of freaking money over a short period of time. So basically what happens is it's fairly quickly, even though it starts to happen fairly quickly, but it takes about a half an hour into the movie before we kind of move to a next thing, or maybe 45 minutes. The next half an hour thing is kind of like a gaslighting thing where she's seeing things and weird things are happening, like the stove is turning up and all that kind of stuff, and no one believes her. And it's just like at this point where you're like, oh, please don't play this half an hour where everybody thinks she's crazy, and then you're like, oh, is she crazy? We know she's not going to be crazy because the movie's called Invisible Man and it's 2 hours long, and there's no freaking way they're gonna play that game with a 2 hour long movie. So and it's just strange, like, so that really doesn't, there's an Invisible Man, and I guess they're not really trying to hide the fact to it, but they're definitely just playing that where nobody believes her and everybody thinks she's crazy. Although no one looks into it for her, no one does some simple things like check on the house or ask about the dog, what happened to the dog in this situation. When she leaves the house, she leaves a dog, all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of weird and kind of vague where they don't even kind of dig into it. So it's just like, well, they don't want to dig into it because if they dig into it, it will reveal a bunch of shit, and they don't want to do that. So basically people just don't follow through with anything. So there it goes. And I know people are like, why are you nitpicking this movie? You'll let something stupid that is absolutely ridiculous like Ghoulies Go to College pass, because Ghoulies Go to College knows it's a dumb film. It doesn't rely on its seriousness. It doesn't tell you it's dark. It doesn't try to change your mind on anything. It's just entertainment. This one is obviously trying to put forth a message about domestic abuse, which is an important one, and it's also trying to be dark and serious and gritty in a way and be grounded. And I know people are like, well, it's not grounded, it's a horror movie, but I feel like it is trying to be more grounded than a lot of other things. And when it does that and it takes itself so goddamn seriously, I have a lot of trouble taking the plot holes seriously. So basically what happens here is she ends up being falsely accused of some things, and it turns into a big climax. Let me say some things I did like about the movie. It's well acted. It's very well acted. It's well shot, even though I don't like the color palette and the choices in lighting and things like that. You can't argue that. It's well shot. It's well acted. It's a well-made movie. I just don't care for the script again. And there's some extreme moments. There's obviously some planned out scares that are drawn out in a way of suspense, in a good way. But besides that, I could get into some nitpicky things that kind of just really bug me to the point where I just can't really like this movie that much. Although I can respect that it is a well-made movie, I don't care for it, and it will not be coming near my top 10. So, spoilers here. If you haven't seen The Invisible Man, go ahead and skip to the next review. There's timestamps and everything like that. So, anyways, here's the reasons I don't particularly care for the movie. And I know, like I said, it's being nitpicky, but at one point, she's accused of a murder in a restaurant, and we see the knife fly up and then cut the woman's throat. It doesn't really land in her hand, if I'm remembering correctly, and even if you did, there's one point where the knife has to get into her hand, or it has to raise like that in a weird way, in a jerky kind of way. Although they use that at the end, and the way they show it looks convincing enough that you wouldn't expect that happen, especially the way she set that up. But at this point, it looks very, very shaky and weird. We live in a world where everything is filmed all the time. Security cameras. Are you telling me that she's saying she didn't do it? The cops are saying you did it, and then they don't review the security footage? Nobody's going to watch the security footage of a murder being filmed? What? Another thing, in the hospital, everybody knows her name too. At one point, she runs out into the street in the beginning, and that one makes sense. But later, the neighbor's like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Will you drive me?" And it's like somewhere, and it's super far. And he's like, "Okay." And the guy's going to work. And it's just so. At one point, I think the clock says like 4 a.m, and it's just like the times don't match up. And this guy's ending up driving her, and he's just okay and cool with it. And everybody knows her first name basis. She gets put in the hospital, in this kind of a hospital. I'm not sure if it's a police station or a hospital. I'm pretty sure it's some sort of mental facility. But every security guard, all 20 of them that she comes in contact with, know her first name, like she's been there for 100 years. But at one point, the Invisible Man does actually attack, and he ends up killing or mauling like 4 or 5 guards, actually more like 7 or 8, and there's gunshots fired and everything like that. And the suit has to have human strength, superhuman strength. They don't really say anything, if I remember correctly, but it has to, and I'm willing to let that kind of stuff slide, okay? We got this kind of suit, which this technology, I think, could possibly be done, so it's not that far-fetched either. So basically, he manhandles and kills all these guys, and they're all confused, of course, because they're getting messed up out of nowhere, and there's gunshots fired and everything like that. But then when she takes the elevator and runs down to the lobby, there's literally three security guards just sitting at the desk, unarmed, unalarmed, just letting her run by like nothing happened. Seriously, there's security footage. A, B, all those people called for backup on the walkie-talkies. You know it, and C, they would have heard the gunshots. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, that kind of stuff is unforgivably sloppy. And it just bothers me. It just doesn't make sense. Not to mention, she dumped a bucket of paint on the guy and he got it off in 2.5 seconds, and there's no evidence of the paint being on him. It's just stuff like that, and the movie takes itself way too seriously for this kind of dumb shit to be happening in it. And I don't think it's a horrible movie. Like I said, it's just way too serious. It's not something I like. I do not like serious movies that are full of plot holes. I just do not care for them. Even when you get into stuff like, it's more so dark and gritty movies. And like, even when you take westerns that are serious, or something that has like a pulpy aspect, even Tarantino stuff, there's like a pulp to it. It almost feels like comic book shit in a way, and I'll let things slide that I normally wouldn't let slide because I feel like it's a part of that universe. And something like The Invisible Man, where it's just so dark and so serious and so gritty and just everything, I'm just like, I can't take this seriously when it's bullshit. And I'm sorry, it's just the way I feel. Like, if dumb shit was happening all over Heat or something, I would feel the same way. And I'm sure there's inconsistencies in Heat as well, but I never noticed them. I'm just saying that I can't take it seriously when it's just a lot of dumb stuff like this. And I do think a lot of people will love this for basically what it's saying and everything, and having the ending it does, and I can respect that. But at the same time, I just don't care for it, and it's not something I particularly like. So I did like Upgrade, and Upgrade was dark and serious, but I never got that point where there was lots of dumb things happening. Maybe that was more of a sci-fi, more unrealistic sci-fi world where I could buy it. But anyways, Invisible Man, it's going to make most people's top 10. It's not going to make mine, so yeah. Okay, the next one here is another Jess Franco, and this is Vampyros Lesbos, the one made before she killed in ecstasy, also starring Soledad Miranda, who had kind of a cult legacy after all these movies she did with Jess Franco and from stuff before. But this is one I always wanted to watch. This is the new this is not new, but the Severn kind of deluxe nice edition remastered in 4K. Looks excellent. So also in German as well. This is a take on the vampire genre. I mean, the story of Dracula. I mean, not even a vampire genre. It's a take on the Dracula story. We have this kind of, I don't remember exactly what her job is. I think she's like basically kind of a similar job to Jonathan Harker. She's in a marriage with her husband. They seem to be fairly decent, in love and everything. So she ends up going to this place where she's supposed to meet with a client in basically in Miranda. So she ends up going there, and there's obviously an immediate sexual connection with them, with each other. Jess Franco is also in this movie as a very strange kind of, he's like a groundskeeper, and he warns people about not going places, but he also is a crazy serial killer, and I think she encounters him at first. So anyways, she ends up going there, even against warnings and all the kind of things that you would kind of suggest not to go, but she does, and almost immediately they strip nude and go swimming together. So there's like obviously this, the title of the movie, they obviously have a sexual connection, and Miranda being a vampire, she has that, that she can draw people in like vampires can do. So basically what happens here is they have kind of a fair deal, but Miranda sucks her blood like Count Dracula does to Lucy, I think, is it Lucy? And she kind of becomes part of her and drawn to her. So it seems that everybody who has an encounter with this vampire is drawn to them, and they have that kind of psychic bond, like in Dracula the novel as well. So she ends up having to check into a hospital because she's having kind of these mental breaks because of it, being obsessed. And there's also another woman who's had interactions with Miranda in this hospital, losing her mind. And there's a nice twist, or not twist, but kind of a reveal who she is and who she's related to in the movie, which I actually enjoyed. So there's some unique things about this. Like I said, Dennis Price actually plays kind of the Dr. Stewart. I think he actually is Dr. Stewart in the movie, which I like. Dennis Price was actually in Venus and Furs and a couple Hammer movies, so it's nice to see him pop up in here. I think he was in Lust for the Vampire, actually, the Hammer film. So yeah, he's pretty solid in it, and he has a nice reveal too. So they kind of turn everything on their heads in a Dracula world. I mean, it is obviously highly sexualized. There's sex scenes, and there's these extended numbers of dance routines on stage. But anyways, I ended up really enjoying this one. It's also shot in a highly beautiful location, and the twist and the switching on their heads, and actually Soledad having that kind of being charmed by somebody else is another take that's a little bit different on the vampire genre. So this is obviously one of Franco's better films. It has a similar soundtrack to She Killed in Ecstasy. I would say these movies are very close together, and they share a lot of the same DNA, if not almost all the same DNA. You know, similar cast and everything, and it's just made kind of in the same way. I really like Jess Franco in it. He plays a crazy necrophil kind of guy, I would say so. But anyways, really recommend checking this out. It does have the featurette again with the Soledad Miranda expert on there, and it's such a tragic, sad thing. Listening to that story brought like tears to my eyes because how they explain everything. It was just like, that's so goddamn sad. That's the second time I said, I know a lot of people hate when I say that, but hey, I'm sorry. It's so sad, and it's so tragic what happened to her and what happened and everything, the situation. It's just, and it feels like, although it's completely about her and her tragic story, it definitely kind of, it goes with Jess Franco's story too, that he kind of had kind of a tragic end, especially when you think of Lena Romay too, dying before him, and it's just kind of weird that he had two muses die younger than they should have. It's just kind of sad. Anyways, I am becoming more and more of a Jess Franco fan. I have seen a lot of his movies, and familiarity kind of helps. Now, a lot of his low-budget stuff, I'm like, it is what it is. You know, he had $5 to make this jungle adventure movie he didn't want to make, and they're bad. They're not good. They're not something I'm interested in. But when he's doing stuff like Count Dracula or Venus in Furs or She Killed in Ecstasy, I'm like, these are good movies. These are solid Euro horror films, and they have their own style, and I like them. I think they're good stuff, and I think that a lot of other people will enjoy them as well. And I respect Jess Franco because, like Joe D'Amato, these guys made movies till they died. That's all they knew. That's all they wanted to do. And although it's kind of a mixture of love for film and hard work, I think so. I respect the hell out of them for it. And there's a lot of directors that could possibly make better movies chose not to care, and these guys always wanted to just make movies. You know, they did it. Other people did it for a paycheck. These guys were doing it for a living, but they also had to do it, I think. So yeah. Oh boy, do we got a super weird one here by Takashi Miike, and it is The Happiness of the Katakuris. I had heard about this movie for a long time, honestly. It was supposed to be a weird, strange musical, zombie film, comedy thing. And people were like, it's like the thing on the front says, it's Sound of the Music meets Dawn of the Dead. And that's completely freaking inaccurate. It has like 2 scenes with zombies. It's not a zombie movie. And it's barely a horror movie, to be honest. It's more of a family musical comedy than horror, I'd say. So The Happiness of the Katakuris is a super strange film proving that Takashi Miike's movies are all completely different and weird. Whether he makes something like 13 Assassins, which is an excellent period piece war film, which I love, or Blade of the Immortal, which is more pulpy kind of, and then he has stuff, of course, his dark horror films like Audition, and the crazy Yakuza movie Ichi the Killer, and Visitor Q. The guy's got lots of strange movies. And although I haven't seen all his movies, or even a majority of his movies, I do respect him as a filmmaker. So The Happiness of the Katakuris I thought was a very fun, heartwarming movie. The music, I like the music. So it basically follows a family of a grandfather, his son, his wife, their daughter, who has a young daughter, and her brother. So it's kind of a family unit, 4 generations, living in this kind of, it's an isolated kind of like stay, like, I would say hostel maybe, you know, it's just this little area, this slice of life kind of a hotel thing they made themselves for people to stay in. And they figured that they're putting a highway through there that it would essentially bring them lots of money if they got on the, got it there quick enough, and the husband had just been let go from his job, so he figures this is a great way to do it. This movie opens up crazy with this weird kind of claymation animation thing, which is really kind of bizarre, and I kind of love it. It's just a weird, goofy, but fun and somewhat heartfelt movie. It's very darkly comedic too, so they literally don't have anybody who stays at this motel or hotel for, I'm trying to think, ever. And their first guest comes in and he's just like super depressed, and everybody's like super excited that he's there, and they're like, here, take my clothes, come on. And then like he promptly commits suicide in the room by shoving the door key in his neck. And they're like, we can't let anybody know this, we're going to get in trouble. So they cover it up, and through more happenstance and bad luck, more people start to turn up dead. And it turns out that they're covering those bodies up too. But there's definitely some weird kind of viral thing going on involving insects going up people's nose. It's just a weird kind of element here. And all the characters have their like fears and their things they're kind of obsessed with. Like the son, everybody thinks he's a criminal and no good. And the daughter, daughter always is looking for love, and she has the. It's a really cute movie that I enjoyed, and the music does get stuck in your head. Like if I actually spoke fluent Japanese, I would be singing it for you, but I've already embarrassed myself enough just being here. So, anyways, I really like this movie. I thought it was very enjoyable, and I would definitely watch it again. It's just one that I kept thinking about where I was like, you know what? Like, watching it, you're like, what is this? And then when you're done, you're like, yeah, I like this. And it gets a little sad towards the end and everything like that, but it will go through animation and show, like, I don't know how to explain it besides claymation or stop motion. It's definitely stop motion, but, like, they just look like clay to me, like Clay Fighter or something, so it's stop motion, and the people, it's just really kind of cool. But there is a musical number with zombies, so I enjoyed seeing that. And check it out for sure. On the special features, there's a really cool feature where this Tom Mez, is it, who goes over a lot of Takashi Miike's career, and he goes through the beginning and goes all the way through the end, spotlighting on all these different things that he did, including, big blockbuster, family-friendly movies. The guy's done so much work, and I don't need to tell everybody how crazy and great Takashi Miike is, because I'm sure everybody knows how versatile he is. So yeah, that is Happiness of the Katakuris from Arrow Video. This is an older release. It is still in print, so check it out. I'm sure you guys will like it. And it looked very good for when it was made in like 2001. I would, if somebody told you it was made in 2010, I would have bought it. Also, it stars the main father is the guy from Haruka the Goblin, who I actually really enjoy in that movie, and he's got a really good quality about him. So yeah, this is Happiness to Katakuris, very recommended.
それは何も同じ家に暮らそうということではなくて、モンティ・パイソンはね好きでしたよ。好きだった。
ヤギ、スノ、リチャードじゃなくて、はい。その人たちの仕事一度も目にしたことがないなって言えないぐらいの人たちがいっぱいいて。
More notable films from Miike's video years are Fullmetal Yakuza,
Okay, the next one is Brain Sex. What a great title, right? And this is by Hisayasu Sato. Hisayasu Sato, I've been covering his movies for a little while now. They think this is the 7th one I've been covered on the show. And he is such a unique director. His films are perverse. They're full of voyeurism, obsessed with technological and media stuff. And this one is no different. They all run on just a little over an hour, which I kind of love. But this is a film about one really, but there is kind of two kind of obsessed high school girls who basically want to do this pirate radio show. And this one of them, and a lot of people on Letterboxd were saying this is Nightcrawler, but more straight to the point. And it kind of is, in a way, that she wants to do this pirate sex show where she kind of voyeurs in on people and witnesses rapes and murders and all sorts of really dark things and reports on them. But of course she sensationalizes it, and it seems that she's getting off on it and vicariously kind of, living through it at the same time. It's really kind of dark. But she actually hooks up with another one of these guys who films at one point, and he's no good, and it plays into a young girl who's following her around who wants to be part of this pirate radio. But it all kind of comes to the main plot point here is when she meets with somebody who she witnesses to be a murderer, and this murderer wants to carry these murders out, and it's really twisted because he actually is listening to the pirate radio while he's committing the crime, knowing that she's filming and sensationalizing it. So it's like this weird Strange Days kind of getting off thing. If anybody's ever seen Strange Days, that you can put this feeling thing on people, and then you can put it and can reconnect it and put it on there so you can feel what they're feeling and live through it, and it's this weird thing like that. So anyways, he is literally planning these murders with her, carrying out the murders, and watching, knowing that she is filming them, listening back to them, and getting off on them while she is getting off on it as well. It is so much layers of weird perversity and everything like that it's just super bizarre. And there's also, you know, if you watch this film Celluloid Nightmares, where the camera, there's a knife on the camera, and it's just like, that's kind of, you know, right to the, you know what that means and everything. This one, we have microphone point of view. And I read again, somebody thought it was like a prison, like a cage, like you're trapped within it. But it's just interesting that you get the microphone point of view that you can see outside the mesh. And at first I was like, what is that? What is that? And I was like, oh, it's the freaking microphone. And the opening of this movie is really fun in a weird way, that she's just running through the streets and saying all these weird things and catching people's attention and everything like that. And at the very end, it kind of ends in that weird way too, where actually something horrific happens, and it doesn't really seem like people give that much of a shit. So that's Brain Sex. Really weird movie. Really strange film. Again, in his world, I feel like everybody's just standing on rooftops filming each other and masturbating. It's just a weird thing, and it's just obsessed with voyeurism and media and everything like that. And I've just caught on to like all the things that he has in his films, and I really enjoy them, and just spotting all the different things, but all the same things, and just how they mix and match together. And you can tell this is definitely the same director, and he has these weird fetishes and stuff, and they know no bounds. They cross a lot of bounds, but they all are the same. You know, it's weird. So anyways, Brain Sex, recommended, liked it quite a bit. Okay, this one is probably Sato's biggest film. It's the one that I first saw years back, before I really knew who the guy was or anything like that. And this is Splatter, Naked Blood. Yeah, this one's weird because this is his gore film. And although his films are very violent and sexual, this one is very gory and sexual. And I was actually taken back watching this. I didn't expect it to be as gory as I remembered. I was like, whoa, geez, that's brutal. This one goes more into the scientific level, kind of like Sweet Lesbian Honey Rape or whatever. That movie's more of a scientific experiment, and also, what is it, Curie Ision has that too. So he does have that element too, where there's this scientific experiment. So what we have here is a mom and her son. The mom runs these kind of clinical experiments for like birth control. The son worshipped his father. His father has passed. He was a scientist, and the son is developing some sort of drug that will basically turn pain into pleasure. So if you're sad, you'll be happy because of it. It will release endorphins in your head. So anything. So basically, there's three women into this. The mother's kind of a clinical birth control session, and all three of them are very different. We have kind of a recluse who doesn't really like people, who's an insomniac, and then we have somebody who's obsessed with eating and loves food, and then we have somebody who's obsessed with their beauty and making themselves perfect and everything like that. So what happens is the son gets in there one day, and he slips in during the last session for them, his medicine, his kind of depressing thing, and he starts to follow them around voyeuristically, filming and everything like that. And he ends up starting a relationship with the insomniac woman, who it's kind of funny how they start a relationship. They're like, he's like, I just really hate you, and I want you to feel exactly the same way about me. And I think that's just very funny. And they start this kind of weird relationship, and it's almost kind of heartfelt in the middle of this nasty movie. So anyways, he starts to document what's happening to them and follow them around, and it turns out that all three of them have these horrible effects to them, to the point where, you know, one of them starts to picks a hair. The one obsessed with beauty picks a hair out of her body, and she gets kind of a rush from it. So you can lead where that goes. It turns into Hellraiser, you know, pain is pleasure kind of thing. And the other one starts to bite off more than they can chew, if that makes any sense, leading into two of the most disturbing scenes I've ever seen, and to the point where I was like, I can't believe they're doing this, and I can't believe I didn't remember this was this nasty. And then, of course, there is a twist with the insomniac and everything. But yeah, this one's really crazy, and it gets really weird towards the end, because there's this weird dream machine kind of thing where she connects it to her cactus and puts it on her, but she ends up putting it with the young boy, and they have this weird shared reality dream thing, and it turns in the end it plays into that, and you're just like, what is going on? This is weird. I think I know, but maybe I don't. Anyways, very bizarre, very crazy, very good movie for me. I really like this. I think this is probably one of his best, if not his best movie. It's definitely his most famous, or infamous, I should say. And I think that a lot of people that probably watched this one were expecting similarities in his other ones, like the gore and the stuff like that. But if you're watching this movie strictly for gore, then I would steer clear. He's not a gore guy. In Splatter, it's very much a gore film, but from the other movies I've seen, they're more, perverse and psychological stuff and weird things like that and ideas than gore. Although there is blood and violence, it's not a gore fest or anything. But Splatter, Naked Blood, check it out if you've not seen it. This one I would recommend to a broader audience who likes the kind of extreme cinema. The other ones are going to take a special kind of pervert to enjoy, like myself. But yeah, Splatter, Naked Blood, check it out. Okay, going to be very brief with this one because we covered it on 22 Shots. This is Ghost House, The Children, 2008 movie. I'd actually not seen too many of these Ghost House Pictures releases. I think I watched Brotherhood of Blood and I said, that's enough for me for a while. But anyways, The Children. First and foremost, I was very surprised by this. It was a very good movie. Basically what happens is this kind of family travels right between Christmas and New Year's. They go to this kind of isolated cabin area to have, good family thing and everything. And one of the kids gets sick pretty quickly, and it seems that this virus is spreading to the kids, and it takes longer on certain kids, and it ends up kind of turning them into evil kids, kind of a la Children of the Corn, who can kill a child, and the parents must defend themselves. But what's complicated is, of course, it's your kid. Like I said in 22 Shots, just like the Dawn of the Dead Argento cut, let's say the lady gets bit. You're going to be able to chop off her head. It's just that thing, It's very hard to kill someone you love, especially a defenseless children who, in your mind, you're supposed to protect with everything. So it gets really dark and twisted, and some people die in some brutal ways, and I like the family dynamics between them. They all have a history. They all have, some resentment towards each other, no doubt. But anyways, I really like this one. It's bleak. It's dark. The ending packs a powerful punch. The Children. Good stuff. We had an argument about the movie. Just listen to that. If you listen to the podcast, let me know what you guys think. I was on the popular side of the argument, so 3 versus 1. But anyways, that's The Children. Okay, the next one is from Vinegar Syndrome, and this is the 4K release of Deadly Games Dial Code Santa Claus. Great cover, man. Can't believe we're getting 4Ks of this kind of stuff. This is a movie that I might have heard about in passing years ago, but it never clicked or registered in my head. So a couple years ago, I actually bought an import Blu-ray. Didn't watch it. Saw Vinegar Syndrome was releasing it. Was like, well, I got to have the Vinegar Syndrome one, right? So anyways, I picked it up, and I got to say, man, this thing looks gorgeous. It's a really cool late 80s, early 90s. I think it's 89 or something like that. Christmas kind of horror film. Predates Home Alone. Obviously had some, some, I guess what we'll say, some very, what's the word I'm looking for? There was definitely some, anger from the director, I think, which is kind of understandable. So anyways, Deadly Games. This is follows the story of a mother, her kid, and a grandfather. They live in this giant mansion. It's Christmas Eve. The mother is a workaholic. She's a manager at this toy store or something. She obviously makes good money or something like that. The mansion house is built really weird. It has a bunch of booby traps. It has a bunch of elaborate things that the kid's obsessed with. And he basically runs the house. He's like a mixture of Rambo and just kind of crazy. Anyways, this kind of crazy guy who just seems a little sad and wants to celebrate Christmas, and it's shown in the very beginning when he tries to do a snowball fight with the kids and they kind of run away, don't want any part of him. He's just a very lonely, sad weirdo. He ends up becoming a mall Santa, and he's fired for some horrible things, and he ends up kind of breaking into this house through some situations and trying to attack the kid. The kid has to defend the house, defend himself, try to save his grandpa, and there's lots of booby traps, lots of good cinematography, lots of cool roof shots and stuff like that. It's a really good looking movie, has really thick atmosphere. A couple parts get a little dark. I was kind of surprised they went there, but for the most part, a lot of the violence is off screen. But this is a really good one, really stylized, really well made, really well acted. Kind of a hidden gem for sure. I'm glad it's getting some love. Definitely check this one out by Vinegar Syndrome if you get a chance, especially for the holidays. It's Deadly Games, aka Dial Code Santa Claus. And the last one here from that 22 Shots episode episode is the Survive '05, and this is Santa's Sleigh. Yeah, this is an X-rental, starring Bill Goldberg. That's right, Goldberg. I just wanted to just chant that the whole time while watching it. So I'll be very quick with this one. This is 2005. The cast is really fun. I'm not going to tell you the cast because watching all the cameos and people pop up here, it's really the charm of the film, especially in the opening. There's lots of Jewish actors in here being killed by Bill Goldberg, who's Jewish himself, as Santa Claus. And the director is Jewish. Very funny, obviously, kind of a joke there. Some of them are actually even killed in Jewish ways. Anyways, this is very enjoyable, very weird, very goofy, potty humor, lots of one-liners and stuff like that. I enjoyed myself. It's weird because it's 2005, but you really think it belongs somewhere in like the time of Evil Ed, Jack Frost, the dentist, the stuff like that, Dr. Giggles, but it's just like weirdly placed. I just don't know where. Like, and Ginger Dead Man came out this same year, so maybe it's in line like halfway to, I don't know. It's just really goofy and weird, but also funny and sleazy, and at points we point out it feels like a kid's movie, but then it'll have nudity and some violence, and it's just like, I don't know who this is made for, but maybe it's just made for goofy people like me, and they actually do enjoy this kind of stuff, because I did enjoy myself watching it. So that is Santa's Sleigh. Very fun. There is a nice little animated spot in here that's like Frosty the Snowman or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, so there's also that, which I think is really clever and fun to add in to help with the holiday spirit. But this is Santa's Sleigh. Very fun movie. I would recommend this one for sure.
Grandpa, I want the truth about Christmas.
If it's the truth you want, then it's the scary truth you're gonna have.
According to the Book of Claus, Santa, Satan's only son, lost a bet and was forced to spread Christmas cheer. But now, all bets are off.
Santa?
Yes, there is a Santa Claus. Ho, ho, hoes!
Santa Claus is not a myth or a legend. He's real. Only he's not bearing gifts and presents anymore.
Christmas can sure scare the dickens out of people.
He's scary yet educational.
I'm just trying to spread a little Yuletide fear.
Are you saying Santa is offing everyone who's naughty and nice?
Nicholas shot him!
You shot Santa?
Run away! Santa's on the loose!
This holiday season,
Ho, ho, ho!
lock your doors, bolt the windows,
Aw, Grandpa got run over by a reindeer.
Everyone stand back. Things are about to get a little messy.
and block the chimney. 'Cause naughty or nice, Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa's Sleigh.
Go ahead, kids. Let's see what Santa got you.
I hate children.
Okay, we got the Patreon pick here, and we have the Vincent Price from the Vincent Price collection, the Witchfinder General, aka the Conqueror Worm. And I had actually seen this movie before. It had been a long time. This is a 1968 movie, if I'm not mistaken, directed by Michael Reeves, who did She-Beast and The Sorcerer. And then he died very young and very tragically, and he was pretty much on track to be one of the great 70s kind of directors, the UK directors, in line maybe with like a Terrence Fisher or Roy Ward Baker, or maybe like a Freddie Francis, somebody like that. You know, he could have been a really strong voice and probably had a couple more great films in him. This stars legendary actor, of course, Vincent Price. Who doesn't love Vincent Price? I love Vincent Price, by the way. Everybody should, okay? So anyways, this follows the story of a real character named Matthew Hopkins, who was a Witchfinder general. He would travel to towns, deem people witches, torture them, and he was an all-around piece of shit. He has basically this kind of thug with him that basically does all the torture, and obviously Matthew Hopkins is doing this to benefit from it. So he gets gold or silver shillings every time he kills someone, so there's that. Anyways, he gets word that there is a priest who's actually evil and turning people into devil worshippers or Satanists or whatever. So he shows up, which is funny because he hates Satanists in this movie, but the last movie I covered with him, The Masquerade of the Red Death, he was a Satanist. So Vincent Price is very versatile. He can kill Satanists or he can be a Satanist. So anyways, he shows up and he accuses this priest of being a witch. Of course, he's going to torture him. His niece, who is actually dating a soldier who had just left, kind of plays stupid and says he's the servant girl and tries to survive the best she can. When the soldier catches wind of this, he does not like this at all, and he makes it his goal to kill Matthew Hopkins and his servant. Anyways, this one's a really great film. It opens up with a brutal murder of somebody in the kind of style of the torture, and it just kind of takes you right back in 1968. You're like, that's a hell of a way to start it. That's brutal. And there's a couple scenes and people get caught on fire that are really effective, and when they drown the people, it's just really kind of brutal. And Mark of the Devil would come 1 year later, obviously inspired by this, also fairly brutal. But this one, man, has its nasty stuff. And I've always kind of enjoyed these witch hunt movies, from Witchfinder General to Mark of the Devil to, of course, The Devils. They're all really great and unique and cool. And I guess people claim this one, Blood on Satan's Claw, and The Wicker Man are kind of like the three big folklore horror movies of the UK. And they're all really good movies. It's been a very long time since I watched Blood on Satan's Claw, though. But I remember them all being at least interesting as hell. The Wicker Man's a classic, right? But yeah, it just kind of interests me in these kind of ways. This one's that kind of like trajectory of films. But this one is great. And Vincent Price is not usually... He's not pricing it. He's very scary. He's very unpleasant. He's very evil. His dialogue is always great, but the way he delivers his lines, his demeanor, it's just not the typical Price that you would expect. And I guess that's probably because Michael Reeves, if you watch the special features, Reeves didn't want Price in this role. He wanted Donald Pleasance, and he gave Price a hard time. He would tell him he was doing things wrong, and I just can't imagine anyone yelling at Vincent Price like, no! I'd be like, if I was on set, I'd be like, how dare you talk to Vincent Price that way? How dare you? But I mean, seriously, so he's yelling at Price, and Price, obviously it worked because he came in and he was just mean-spirited for Vincent Price. One of his best performances, like I said, he's an icon, and for good reason. Anyways, this is a really strong movie, and it ends, on a crazy moment, kind of very 70s, where, it reminds me a little of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, who will live and what will be left. That kind of quote there. But anyways, Witchfinder General, it's a freaking classic. It's got all these beautiful shots of the English countryside, which are very popular in these kind of 60s, 70s horror films from UK. But anyways, highly recommended. Good stuff. A classic. One of the best, right? Hey guys, what's up? We're here for Blindspot. And Jeremy looks blind with his hair in his face. But we're here to do my pick. I'm a genius. I wrote that down last night. Anyways, we're here to do Last Man on Earth, which is surprising that I have not seen this. And actually, this kind of movie that I'm not seeing it is kind of like criminal for me, isn't it?
Wait, this is your pick?
Yeah. No, this is your pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is my pick.
This is your pick, but I still haven't seen it, which is criminal. Which sounds like it's one of those things where I was like, you should pick that one.
Maybe. Yeah.
But anyways... This is based off the Richard Matheson story, I Am Legend, the novella, which is actually my favorite novella of all time, or probably book of all time. I read it very young. It had a deep impact on me. But more importantly, it had a deep impact on George Romero, who, with A Nightmare and this, decided to make Night of the Living Dead. And boy, does it show. Everybody knows that George Romero's my favorite director. Day, Night, Dawn, Dead are my favorite movies. So, watching this, I was pleasantly surprised. I had seen The Omega Man, of course, with Charlton Heston, and I like that movie quite a bit. This one is the first movie based off that story, 1964, an Italian co-production that was almost a Hammer movie. But after the heat they took from Horror of Dracula and Curse of Frankenstein, they decided to make it over in Italy and sold the script. But this stars legendary actor Vincent Price, of course, as the last man on Earth. And this is a lot more faithful than one would expect. And I was kind of shocked it was that faithful. The basic story is some sort of virus comes in and it kills everybody, kills the majority of people. But if the bodies aren't burned or buried, pretty much burned, they have to be burned, they will come back as vampires. But these aren't the traditional vampires. They do come out at night. They do feed on people, but they're not your typical Bela Lugosi type vampires. They're more weak zombies, to be honest. This is definitely the precursor to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I mean, they I think a zombie would be a closer descriptor of what they were. They do react to, like, vampire, mirrors.
They don't like to see themselves, and garlic causes them to be sick, which would suggest that there's a possibility that vampires did exist at some time previously in another point in history, maybe, and this is a mutated virus of it. But anyways, this is close to the story. Like I said, Vincent Price is working on a cure, and he's working with his friend and neighbor Ben Cortman, who is actually surprised to see him in this movie because he is a recurring character in the book. And basically, he's trying, and it does this weird narrative structure. It starts off with, right in the beginning, they throw you right into it, where he's in the house, and he's explaining everything how it works, and how he's trapped in the house, and he has to listen to the moans of the dead yelling at him, and then he kind of flashes back, and you see the entire story.
Right, he kind of like has like a mental breakdown after visiting a friend, and then you find out, oh, it's his wife. And it's like the whole story of, of like when the virus was discovered, how it was traveling. He's a scientist, and so is Ben, I believe.
Yeah, they both are.
They work together. And essentially, it takes everybody, and Vincent Price is
the last man on Earth. This is great stuff for me because it's such a precursor to Night of the Living Dead, and you're like, well, he based it off the same source material. But watching this movie, I was like, oh, geez, like, this is closer than I thought. Like, the little girl, his daughter in bed, how she's saying, Mommy, I can't see, because she goes blind, which is just so cruel. And it reminds me 110% of Judy in Night of the Living Dead saying, I hurt, Right. It's like, that's 100%. The hordes of mindless corpses banging on your doors are 100%. There's also that wonderful moment where he forgets it's night and he dozes off, and he has to drive back.
Yeah.
And, like, I was really expecting the vampires to be, like, kind of ferocious, but they're just like George Romero zombies. He's like, get off me, get off me. Vincent Price just pushing them over. I was like,
flipping them.
Yeah. But, man, like, this is such a nightmare scenario. And it also, I could see, like, bits of the people who own the dark in here. Also, the crazies, all that kind of stuff. The Rabid, Cronenberg's Rabid. So, like, I feel like this movie, and along with Curse of Frankenstein, I feel like those are very important to George Romero. Yeah. I would say those are probably, I feel like they gotta be something that affected him when he was very young.
Well, and even the opening of this movie is really similar to Day of the Dead opening. Yeah. Opening up, and you see like shots of a city, and I think the very first shot's like, is it the world has ended, or it's the end of the world? It's on like a church marquee or something. You see all like the abandoned expressways, buildings, parking lots, and then it zooms in and it's bodies.
There's bodies laying in the street
everywhere.
It's just like the opening of Day, and the newspaper flashes up, the dead walk, and you see the zombies coming out of like the. Oh man, you know what? This is 100% a movie for me.
Yeah,
isn't it? Like this is like. Yeah. This excites me greatly, and I'm so ashamed I didn't watch it. That's why this Blindspot is perfect. Like, this is literally the stepping stone that I needed for horror movies to put everything together. And I actually had this book, Eaten Alive by Italian Zombies and Cannibals, when I was pretty young. And it opened. The first one they put in here was Last Man on Earth. Although it's not a zombie movie, it's a zombie movie.
It's zombies like a new term that we have.
It came in 1968, even though there were previous zombies. But they're all intents purposes mindless vampires that are weak that feed on you. And they do follow some of the tropes and rules of vampires, but they are their own thing as well.
Right.
Like I said, them going blind reminded me of the people who own the dark, the hordes of blind people that are kind of just like crazed out there. Man, I know, like, I'm looking at people's review and like 3, 2, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is a masterpiece to me. This is so, and like, I know people are like, well, it doesn't have the stuff that Night of the Living Dead has, that political stuff, but also it has that kind of scary stuff. It doesn't have the documentary style that Night of the Living Dead has with the newspaper aspects. The newscaster aspects, which is what grounds it in reality more so. But it has all the other like little things that I love about Night of the Living Dead in there. And plus it's Vincent Price. And although Vincent Price is a little over the top, you love it. And at the end he's like, Vincent Price throwing smoke bombs. it's probably the funniest thing ever.
There is a second character that pops up about halfway through.
That happens in the book too.
And you find out that she's kind of like a half breed, half living, half dead creature.
The one thing I was a little sad upon, they do it, but it's all condensed. Like, this movie should have been like 2 movies or 2 hours long, but how they do squeeze in a lot of the stuff that's in the book more than you would expect, and especially considering the later adaptations. The dog's in here, which if you in the book it's handled really well and really sad. It's over like a course of a month or a few months. He's trying to get this dog in his house. And, like, I don't want to spoil the book or anything like that, but I feel like there's a really touching moment in that. And, like, I haven't read this story since I was 13 years old, and I remember every detail of I Am Legend. That's how close it was to me. And there's also this really cool moment where he realizes throughout the book where Ben Cortman was hiding, like, because he's always wondering, because during day he goes and stalks the vampires, and he realizes Ben Cortman was hiding in a certain place, and it's revealed when the new vampires take over the old vampires, because they make a weird suggestion, well, not suggestion, they say that the new breed of vampires had taken a vaccine of some sort and blood and mixed it, and it holds off the virus enough that they remain alive, but they are vampires, they have the same symptoms, but they have not died.
Right.
The other ones are more mindless, and they have died. So I feel like after their brain shuts down when it reactivates, because the virus, they're just not very smart anymore. And I feel like that's why they have that setback, and that's why the new vampires want to kind of get rid of the old vampires, because they feed upon each other, and they're just not civilized.
Right, and then, when they hear of, Vincent Price, and Vincent Price is going around in the daytime and killing the nests. So to the new vampire people,
he's a legend.
He's a legend. He's like, and then the character, the girl also says, like, oh, you've even killed a few of us, and, Vincent Price doesn't know. He doesn't know that there's a whole separate society. He generally believes that he's the last living.
It's super tragic, too. It's a very tragic story.
Very much so.
And I mean, I think that Omega Man's a good movie, but I think this being so much closer to the source material is a better movie.
I mean,
they're both great.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new one
with Will Smith.
I haven't seen that one.
The only reason I didn't want to watch that one is because they took the vampires and they took their individuality away and they made them a horde, which is just weird to me. I don't get it.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I really should watch it because I like the source material so much. But it just was always weird to me. Like, and Vincent Price isn't an everyday man. Like, I don't remember the character's name in the book, but the main character, he was not supposed to be. Like, he was supposed to be an everyman. And although they cast Vincent Price and Charlton Heston, it's just like, and then Will Smith, it's like, these really aren't everymen. Like, Charlton Heston might be the closest, but Vincent Price is the farthest from it. And so is Will Smith. They're like, but at the same time, I really enjoyed seeing Charlton Heston and Vincent Price. So maybe I would like Will Smith at a certain point. And it's interesting enough to see what the differences they've done with the stories,
Right. And given, because when's Omega Man made?
71,
so you
60,
got...
You only got 7 years, I think.
7
maybe
years
it's
of
a little
that.
later than that. Maybe it's even later than that, 76 maybe. I'm not 100%.
Then I Am Legend is like 2008?
Yeah.
Ish?
And also to mention that the vampires, they're all in like tattered suits, just like Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a stepping stone into that horror and everything.
Well, it's black and white. There's this...
The music cues sound a lot like Night to a certain extent.
This thing with, like trying to... Gas is an important part, I think, in this story. Like, he has to get gas in his car. He uses a generator for his house. And in Night, there's that whole scene about, we can get out of here if we get gas in the car. Well, there's a gas pump out there. Where's the keys?
There's a lot of that. There's just so many small similarities, too, that are just kind of crazy. Even the argument, like, I feel like Ben Cortman, like, when he starts arguing with it, he reminds me of Cooper a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, and he becomes, like, he becomes crazy and closes the door, and I don't know. It is very sad, too. Like, he actually goes to the dumping grounds at one point. He's like, my daughter's in that truck. And he's like, the one guy's like, so is mine. A lot of people's daughters are in that, like, pit, and he just throws them in the burning pit. It's just like, Jesus. I mean, it doesn't have all the small little details that are so cool about I Am Legend, but it has the core story, which I was shocked to see. I thought it was going to be completely off, and I was very happy with it. I really love this movie.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed it quite a bit.
I thought it was pretty good.
Anything else to say? No. Okay. I'm going to read from John Stanley's Creature Features. And we have The Last Man on Earth, 1964, 3 out of 5. First adaptation of Richard Matheson's classic novel, I Am Legend, is far more faithful than the second, Omega Man. Filmed in Italy by director Ubaldo Ragona, with U.S. inserts shot by Sidney Salkov, I'm not sure the director. It stars Vincent Price as a non-tainted survivor of a worldwide plague. All others are walking corpses, a mutated form of vampirism. Price burns their bodies during the day, and with the coming of dusk, rushes to his fortress to fight off the nocturnal marauders. Co-written by Matheson under the name Logan Swanson, Emma Daniele, Giacomo Rossi, and Giacomo Rossi Stewart. Various entry titles: The Night Creatures, which was a Hammer movie, which is crazy because they made that. Remember that?
Yeah.
They really wanted to use that fucking name. Night People, Naked Terror, and Wind of Death. The Wind is cool because they mentioned the wind.
Yeah.
They say the wind brings the European plague.
I will say, before I read my review, I think the interesting thing when looking at like Omega Man and The Last Man is the Omega Man focuses a lot on like Charlton Heston's character. Like he just wants to enjoy the time he has left.
Yeah.
Like he lives in his like fancy apartment. He
Play
has,
chest.
He has chess, like the billiards
He
table,
goes to the theater.
yeah, like
or he watches Woodstocking on a yeah.
Right, he's just like enjoying the time that he has left, and occasionally a mutant comes out. Are they called mutants in that?
They're
one?
mutants in
yeah.
that one. And the Simpsons actually made fun of that with Omega Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this one, Price gets home and, he lounges in his house as they're, like, crawling at the door. And it's like he's trying to enjoy himself, but at the same time, it's like they are, like, right there, just between the window and, they're too weak to pull off the boards. But, it's similar, but it's different. You know what I mean? I think in Omega Man, it's not quite apparent that there's a problem at first. And then in this one, it's like, yeah, they're there, but he's so used to it that he just sips brandy.
Yeah, like he's just not, he's like, doesn't want to eat or anything.
Right, yeah. Oh, what am I looking at? The Last Man on Earth? Okay, 1961. 2.5 out of 4. It does 4.
61's not right.
Is it not 61?
He's not right.
Oh. No one, including Star Price, has ever had much nice to say about this Rome-shot first film version of Richard Mason's classic novel, I Am Legend. But in all fairness, it's not half bad. Vinny is badly miscast as the heroic scientist who's seemingly the sole human survivor of a worldwide plague of vampirism, but the gloomy atmosphere of lonely, deserted streets is well caught, and there are some genuinely nightmarish scenes of the vampires attacking Price's home boarded-up house, which were obviously one of the inspirations behind George Romero's classic Night of the Living Dead, remade as the Omega Man. That is one sentence.
That's
that whole
terrible.
Review.
That's bad.
I'm about to write a letter.
Usually he's not bad. I don't know. That's weird.
I was like reading it.
He got the year wrong too, so he's just like, maybe that was the original year it was made in Italy, but not released in till 64. I don't know. I'm gonna touch slack for this. 9.5 out of 10, or 9, or 4.5, or as close to 10 you can get without giving it a 10.
I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. Honestly, it's really good. It's I think in the same vein as Forbidden Planet. I think it's something that you kind of need to see, because I think it just influences so many more than what it actually is.
And the story did too, but seeing this brought to life in like the style, like they didn't have to make it like that, and a lot of people obviously saw this.
Oh yeah, like I said, I mean, if Romero is like the father of zombie movies. If you like zombie movies, you should probably watch Romero, and ergo, you should probably watch Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price. Just like we were talking about with Forbidden Planet. Like, if you like Star Trek, if you like
Star Wars,
Alien, I mean, like, you should watch these movies that inspired the people who made the movies you like to watch.
Yeah.
And not because they're necessarily the greatest movie ever made, but I think it's nice to see where these things come from, like
how they're adapted and stuff.
Right.
It's just interesting. It's just very interesting for me.
Right, and how they changed over the years. I'd like to see the I Am Legend, just because I've already seen 2 of the 3. I might as well
see the
watch
last one,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
See, what is this one saying about
And that's definitely a movie that needs to be done justice. Like, they need to just make a big budget, but don't go crazy with it. Like, you don't need this big city stuff. Like, keep it the suburbs. Keep them alone. Do the story right. A miniseries would probably be pretty good. But I'd rather see a movie because I'm not big on television. So a 3-hour movie, you could tell the story and 100% complete.
Right.
Even a 2.5, I think you could get, or a 2-hour movie. I really do. Because this one was an hour and like 25 or 30, and it got almost all of the things. It just needed to pad it out more with the dog, more with the woman, more with Cortman, and more with the takeover. And
right.
I think that we have, and more of him just kind of experimenting. Because in the original book, he is actually, every day, he'll grab like a vampire, and he'll inject them with a serum, trying to cure them.
And then it doesn't really.
No, and he tries to keep, And it even mentions, like, I remember he, like, sticks one in the butt, like, a woman, like, and he's just like, why does it always have to be a woman? Like, it just made him uncomfortable because he's so lonely as it is in the book, But anyways, I love the source material, and I really love this movie, too. And I really enjoy Omega Man, too. I know that one's definitely 70s, I would say cheesy.
Yeah.
It's not, like, and it's definitely Charlton Heston too. Like, but he's got such a charm about him that I just like him. Like, I like watching him in Planet of the Apes and shit. Like, he's just him. You like him or you don't.
He's kind of creepy looking. I'm not gonna lie.
What, Charlton Heston?
He looks like a microwaved. Who's that one cowboy guy?
John Wayne?
No, the other one.
Jimmy Stewart?
No, the other one.
Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood. He looks like a microwave Clint Eastwood.
What are you talking? They don't look alike. But the funny part, remember the second Planet of the Apes when, like, he actually is fighting James Franciscus and he's just like 8 times bigger than him? You're like, this fight's not going to end well for this guy. No, literally, it's like a dad and son fighting. Anyways, Last Man on Earth, love it. Check it out for sure. I think next week we're just going to try to go back and pick the ones that we skipped over. So mine would be M. My pick is M. We're going to watch that.
Isn't it supposed to be Kronos?
We could do Kronos, but that would be another screw up. So I think we can do Kronos. Would you rather do Kronos or M?
Man, M is 3 hours
It's
long
2.
and silent.
It's 2 hours.
It's 2 hours?
We can do Kronos.
Is there dialogue in M?
I don't think so.
It's a silent movie?
Yeah, we'll do Kronos.
That's a shame because it's Peter Lorre, and I really enjoy his
voice.
voice.
We'll get a different aspect on Peter Lorre watching it.
I mean, it won't be the same.
Are we doing Kronos?
I think we should do... Because when my were being switched around, I just swapped. So...
Well, mine's mixed up like that. We could honestly just go back and we'd have enough to do the old ones and then eventually be on track.
If we want to do it that way, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to do M or do you want to do Kronos?
Let's do M.
Okay, we're going to do M next
We're going to do M.
So,
the serial killer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. German.
We're out.
Silent.
Okay, let's get into these questions. Nick Moo, if you were in Prince Pespero's castle, how would you get out of there? I don't know if I'd want to. If I was in the prison, it would be different. I'd definitely try to get out of there. I don't know if I could. I don't know. But if I was not in the prison, I would probably just stay in there. And I would probably been one of those idiots that died. Do you enjoy satirical movies? If so, any favorites? Yeah, I love satirical films. RoboCop, any Paul Verhoeven movies, I love it. RoboCop, Starship Troopers are the first 2 that come to mind. I love that. And even... hell, would even Return of the Dead be satirical? That's more of just a playing on it. I don't know, but yeah, I love those. What's the worst zombie flick you ever saw? So shitty it made you mad as a bull seeing red. I know there was one that just kind of, it's not the worst, but The Walking Dead started getting really annoying. Like, it would actually anger me because, like, they'd have a great episode, a bad episode, to the point where I was just so tired of it, I turned it off and stopped watching it. It doesn't mean it's the worst. When it's the absolute worst, you just don't care. You just turn it off. You're just like, hey, this is junk. Like, you don't get mad about it. You just turn it off. But the one that actually would annoy me was The Walking Dead, just because some of the stuff they would do. It's drawn out. I don't care for TV for that reason. And then we have Horror Fan Forever. Where did you find the music you played during the House on the Edge of the Park review? I've been looking for that track for a while. I also love the soundtrack of the film. I basically found that on YouTube. You just search Riz Ortolani and House on the Edge of the Park, and somebody put the whole album up, which is unfortunate, but hey, you know, it's a wonderful thing. Ilk Vomit, I mean, a wonderful soundtrack. Ilk Vomit, what was your favorite childhood toy that you wish you kept and still had to this day? I still do have my childhood stuffed animal, so I kept that. His name was Hedgie. It's a hedgehog. Very original naming there. But I wish I had my G.I. Joes. I wish I had my Master of the Universe. I wish I had My Star Wars. I wish I had all my old toys, to be honest, because you don't really ever make money off them when you sell them or get rid of them. Just keep your old toys. Put them somewhere. I know people are like, you don't need all this stuff. Just box it up or something. Save onto it. Trust me, you'll miss it when it's gone. Last video game you beat. Jeez. Probably Double Dragon for Sega. I would play that every once in a while. Very easy. Just game, that kind of comfort game for me. Double Dragon Arcade for Sega Genesis. Beat that a million times. So that's probably the last one I beat. Or maybe Streets of Rage 2. Something like that. Does Mrparka enjoy eggnog? You know, I've had it here and there. Don't hate it. Don't love it. Will drink it. If somebody buys it, I'll have a glass. Bad Brains Horror. Random question, Dave. Who is your favorite Pulp Fiction character and why? It's got to be Butch. You know, I used to love Bruce Willis. In a lot of his newer movies, he just doesn't seem like he gives much of a shit. So, but Butch in that movie, I enjoy him. I think he's great in it. So I got to go with Butch. I also like his story the best. Yeah, definitely Butch. He's my favorite. He just also, I like his demeanor when he's in the car and he's like, Captain Kangaroo, and they see each other like, so it would be Marcellus and Butch, like that whole story. I just like their story. And I also like when he's in the pawn shop or wherever the hell they are, and he hears Marcellus screaming, and he's going to leave, and then he looks up, and he sees the sword, and he's just like, he goes and grabs the sword. He just can't let that happen to him. I like that. And you get that look, too, where he's just, like, looking up at stuff. I don't know. That's one of Bruce Willis's best, and it's Bruce Willis at his finest, and when he's great, so not always great, though. Answers. I basically ask your favorite actor's voice. So I watched House of Wax when it first came out and thought it was decent. My favorite, he's talking about 2005, my favorite actor's voice is Vincent Price or Leonard Nimoy. CK, fave voice, Robert Mitchum. Man, Robert Mitchum's voice is so great. I just love his voice. And when he's in the opening of Tombstone, I wish he'd got to be in the movie, but that whole narration just sets everything. And the ending, too. Love it. He's in there. Dead Flintstone, English comedian Matt Berry has a great voice. Ilk Vomit, favorite voice, Christopher Lee. Also, yes, please report back on the Umbrella release of Day of the Dead. I have heard that it looks better now than the ancient Scream Factory release. George Hilton, fave voice, Richard Burton. Misio, haha, I need a better username. It's pretty much my initials, SM, plus the word miso. And yes, miso soup is delicious. I can't believe you've never seen The Host. I'm flabbergasted. The platform is incredible. Love the concept and execution. Didn't mind the ending too much, but third act did feel a bit weaker. Train to Busan Peninsula is just okay. Felt kind of run-of-the-mill in the sequel, with people turning one against one another, and less focused on the actual zombies. The ending with the mom and the kids was so unnecessarily drawn out and melodramatic that it actually lowered the film for me. Casino is an amazing film. Joe Pesci is gold. I would have to say Fred Gwynn has a nice soothing voice, the kind of voice that will tuck you into bed at night and read you a bedtime story. Haha. Watch a lot of the ASMR other than my horse subscriptions, and he's one of those actors who could rock at ASMR if he was still alive. Great update as always. ASMR. It's going to be one of those things that's super obvious when I know it, but I don't know it right now. Eric Townsley, my favorite actor's voice is Emmett Walsh. Been in so many good movies. He's got a voice that right when you hear his name and somebody's like, Emmett Walsh, you're like, oh, yeah, I know his voice. I can hear his voice in my head. Then we have Ken Coakley. Richard Boone was also the bad guy in Big Jake, which also featured John Wayne's son, Patrick Nathan, who would later do Spaghetti Western, as well as John Agar, who Wayne thought very highly of, along with Christopher George. Both Agar and George did a lot of movies with John Wayne. Neville Brand, Eaten Alive, played John Wayne's buddy in the film as well. I should have put that in comments, so my bad, but I'll address it now. Yeah, John Wayne always used the same guys over and over again. They were his buddies, his staple, and he also would use people like Ben Johnson, of course, but that's like John Ford got him on the set. So it's like, a lot of people like to pick their buddies and put them in the movies. So, but the thing also is, on top of that, sometimes they would throw guys in that weren't like they weren't in a stable like Bruce Dern and the Cowboys, and I mean they got along from everything that you heard, but that was just a great casting choice there too. So yeah. And then we have Travis Wright, James Earl Jones, or Vincent Price. Also, whoever dubbed Gale in Beyond the Door. Nick Mua, voices, the best of them are music to the ears and the worst nails on a chalkboard. Ladies first, Meryl Streep, amazing voice. She can do so many things with hers, not to mention the plethora of accents she displayed. Wow. Lupita Nyong'o, I can't say her name, but she's in Us and Little Monsters. Also has a very charming voice, or creepy, and in Us, she does both. As for the gents, you can't go wrong with either Christopher Lee or James Earl Jones. Yes, the Force is strong in both of them, but the sound they produce are magic, pure and simple. Jason Michael Willard, James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman, actor Emma Stone, Zach Puccinelli, Richard Ward, Robert D., gotta be Vincent Price, James Higgins, Lee, and Jimmy Stewart, Dustin Mills, Michael Wincott or Lance Hendrickson, Emma Stone, Jennifer Tilly, Christian Shaw. Actually, there is a ton. Fuck. Throw Brian Clancy and Ron Perlman in there, too. And then Erica Mills backs up Natasha Lyonne, Jeremy R., Peter Lorre, Angela Lansbury come to mind, Danny DeVito and Katie Seagal too, Tim Curry, David Bowie, Octavia Spencer. I'm not even going to get into voice acting. Jack Palance, the tie between James Stewart, James Mason, and Christopher Walken, Levi Everharts, Catherine Isabel, Emma Stone, Catherine McNamara, Elizabeth Olsen. Oh, also Andrew Divoff, obviously. Also, there is more of an accent thing, but Anna Taylor-Joy's accent is fucking bonkers, and I love it. David Luton, the voice actor who dubbed Marzilio Murley, who's in a bunch of spaghetti... Polizio Tessi, my bad. And Thomas Milan in Eurocrime films. They have also dubbed Gialli in Italian horror. Otherwise, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee. Speaking of dubbing, the guy who does Al Cliver's voice in Zombie is in everything. He's in Cannibal Apocalypse. I like his voice. Is one of my favorites. And then here we have comments. 81 Oak Ridge. You put me on House on the Edge of the Park. It's so much better than Last House on the Left. That Code Red Blu-ray looks gorgeous. Danny H. Love your shirt. Possession is one of my favorite movies of all time. Would love to hear you review it sometime. I hear there's a 4K coming, so maybe I'll wait. That's going to be a hard movie to talk about. So weird. Love that scene in the subway. That's probably why I bought the shirt. I do like the movie, but it's just such a weird, crazy, intense movie. Slipknot Boy 555. Really glad you continue to be on the podcast and that you seem like a regular member now. Thank you. Zach Nolan, you keep JP on his toes. The back and forth between you two is great. No disrespect to JP. I enjoy his input. Yeah, I love going back and forth with JP. You know, JP also is one of those people that like he brings up a lot of points and makes the conversation go like more in depth and everything like that. So I always enjoy that. Bad Brains Horror. Watched a double feature on Bong Joon-ho movies, The Host and Okja. Both were excellent, and it's fun to pick up the director's themes across many movies. That's why I love Sato or Fulci or Romero. You just see all those things pop up, and Cronenberg. You know, it's interesting for me, or Peckinpah. So basically, the question of the week. For this week is best movie-related Xmas gift you ever got. So there we go, because we're coming close to Christmas and the holidays. So best Christmas or holiday gift you got movie-related. So anyways, we're going to hop into the update. Okay, let's start this update off with the 4Ks. First, we have Pan's Labyrinth. Got it dirt cheap during the Black Friday. It was on Amazon. It was like $10. Absolute classic movie here. Del Toro. Come on, can't go wrong with it. We have Ghost in the Shell. It was like $8. Never seen it. Hear lots of good things. I know it's vastly popular for the price, for the format. I wanted to check it out. Don't have an animated movie on 4K. So then we have The Witch, 4K. Haven't watched this since I saw it in theaters. Definitely gonna check this out again in 4K. I'm sure it looks amazing. Remember being pretty great movie. So yeah. Then we have Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Looks like this bad boy was resealed. I wonder if they just gave me somebody else's from Amazon. Anyways, wasn't very expensive. If I watch it and it's broken, I will send it back. But yeah. So, yeah, Godzilla, King of Monsters. And then the last 4K, obviously, can't go wrong with the Dawn of the Dead, Ultra 4K. It's my second or third favorite horror film or film ever made. All 3 cuts in 4K. Look at all the special features on here. Limited edition content. So you got an audio CD. Man, just so awesome, right? I'm so glad it's finally here, you know. Can't wait to watch it. Then get into the Blu-rays. Poltergeist, didn't have it on Blu-ray. It was $5. Why not? Even though it'll probably get a remastered edition. But it's weird that I have 2 and 3 and not the first one. So, yeah, I had to grab it. Then we have a double feature from MVD Rewind Collection. Bolo, Bloodfight, and Ironheart. Why not, right? Then we have one from Scorpion Kino, The Barbarians, directed by Ruggero Deodato, starring Michael Berryman. Richard Lynch is also in this. So this one I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen the Barbarian Brothers movies, but yeah, it looks fun. You know, sword and sandal movie. Why not? Sorcery movie, whatever you want to call it. Curse of the Undead from Kino. I guess this is a horror western. Picked it up. Why not? Then we got Sion Sono movie, Love Exposure. Oh wow, that case is pretty intense. Never registered that. Yeah, from Olive Films. This sounds funny. Perverts prowl and women's panties tremble in Love Exposure, a tangled, tumultuous love story. It's insane. Guilty of Romance, another Sion Sono movie. This is part of the trilogy with Love Exposure and Coldfish, which I've seen Coldfish. So this has 2 versions on there. Excited to watch this. Unfortunately, his movies are so long, you never can find the time to do it. Oh yeah, I'm glad this finally showed up. We have the final interview. I had a little small role in this. Fred Vogel movie, special edition here. This is the one I actually bought, and it appears I am a winner. Very cool. Dress shirt. That's cool. Swatch. Nice. Put that with it when it shows up. And then we have the final interview. This is the cast and crew edition I got here. That's very cool. Look at all the extras on there. Yeah, I actually watched this, and I know, like, you're in it. You can't really say it's a really good movie. You know, Fred did a very good job, and it's completely different for him, which is also very cool. So then we have The Painted Bird, which, yeah, this is supposed to be a super depressing war film. And you say that, I'm like, well, yeah, I gotta watch that because I love being miserable. And then we have Tag, which is another Sono movie from Eureka. Good price on this. Since Amazon UK's the shippings went up so high, I've just been ordering off Zavi, and Zavi's shipping is like $5 flat rate. It takes a long time, but hey, they got here fine, so why not? And then we have The Housemaid. Not seen this one. Good price on it. I hear good things, right? Another Asian whore. Then we got some DVDs I got from the Grindhouse sale. The Facts of Murder from Mia Communication. They had a good sale. It was about $10 for that. Then we have Lucifera, Demon Lover. Another Mia Communications. I'm not sure if it's any good, but we have Naked Obsession. I believe this is a Martino movie. Another Mia Communications. Yeah, cool. You know, the more I think about it, the more I realize how underrated Martino is as a director. Then we have Snack Bar Budapest, which I've not seen. It's a Tinto Brass movie. So, yeah. All these were, you know, I think $10 or something like that a piece. I ended up grabbing them. I know that they're out of print and they might get re-released, but nah, I figured for that price I'd grab them at the time. Anyways, back to the video, guys. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, have a good one.